Hi guys, welcome back to the shack. It's been a long 4 days. Spring has officially arrived here in Alabama. It was like 80-ish degrees today, so things is warming up a little bit. And I've been in here working on the shack, trying to get it put back together. As many of you know, I got the new 8-series extended, got me an enclosure built. Been trying to work all the bugs out of the enclosure, get it finished out, but I had to totally rearrange the shack in the process to make room for this beast of an enclosure. So stick around, I'll be right back. All right, guys, most of you probably aren't going to recognize anything back here except the flag. Everything else has changed. I have moved everything around. Starting right here where I built the enclosure, I had to redefine my organization all the way around to the other side of the shop. Now, I still got some stuff I got to put up. I've still got some work to do below my enclosure. I'm going to be putting some wood storage racks down there. Hadn't got around to doing that yet. But all in all, I've got it back functional. And that was my big concern, was that I had all my jobs out of the shop. I was caught up, no jobs to do. But with the shop being all tore up, just my luck. I was going to get a big order in, but luckily I have got it back functional now. A little more housekeeping to do, a few things to put up, but all in all, I've got it put back together. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to walk you around, give you a layout of how I've got the place laid out now, and some shelves and stuff that I have built, and then we're going to get over to what I know you guys are interested in, and I'm going to show you the current configuration of the enclosure. Now, I'm not saying that it's not going to change. I'm trying something a little different with the airflow to keep from having to put another hole through the wall of the shop, but I haven't decided if I'm going to go with this approach or modify it. So next week it could be different, but for now it's working. It's doing what I wanted it to. I'm waiting on my glass to come in from JTech Photonics. As soon as it gets here, I'll be able to seal this thing in completely and go from there. So give me a second. I'm going to walk around and I'll show you where everything is now. All right, guys. So this shelf here is new. I had to have a place to put all my paint and stuff that I had on those. If you remember, I had like three shelves across here. Well, I had to move those to make room for the tools and everything. And so in the process, I wound up making this little shelf over here. It's only like 6.5 inches deep. It's just mostly stained screws, nails, those small items, trying to maximize the space in the shack. All right. And then over in this corner over here, that dead space that I was concerned about, I went ahead and I made me a little hole here for my shop vac and some other large items that's kind of in this corner out of the way. And then I've got one shelf here. This is just kind of my little tool bag, and then the stuff that goes with my laser as far as like up and coming projects and stuff like that I picked up while I was out. This shelf's currently empty, but I've got enough stuff. Once I get in here and really start organizing, it'll fill up. And then of course the other two shelves are full. But I had this dead space in this corner beside the enclosure, and I just decided that'd be a really good place for some storage. And as always, to save floor space, I try to go as high as I can, and that way I don't waste floor space. All right, so a lot of you guys may have already seen this part, but just to give you an idea, this is going to be I've got two 24 by 12 inch pieces of acrylic coming. It's going to be the orange laser safe acrylic from JTech, and that's going in here. Once I get that in there, I'm probably going to trim this out, face it out a little bit, just make it look a little cooler. I've still got to get some hardware. I haven't got the hinge system worked out, and I got some other hardware that I need to put in. The magnet holders for the bottom door, that kind of thing. But I'm just going to walk you through and show you. The build is pretty much through, except for those pieces of hardware that I got to put on here. So up here in the top, and I'm going to put a stop on the door once I get the springs and everything and start getting them in there. And it's just going to be a little bit of a work in progress until then. But as you can see, I wound up, because of the fact that I already had that hole in the side of the building here, I've got my air intake here. I've got the Honeywell fan located here. This hose here simply goes over this little box that I built, which is basically some duct work. And the duct comes all the way down into the bottom, and I've got two holes in the bottom that pulls the air into the duct, up, out and then blows it outside. Altogether, I've got maybe 2.5, 3 foot of hose. And then I've got, like I said, twice as much diameter of holes in the bottom as what it has here coming in. So I should have plenty of flow through that box. That was kind of an afterthought, but I was having some issues with, I wanted it to pull the air downward, but I didn't want to have to cut another hole in my wall. One other option that I'm entertaining is that I may turn this into a fresh air intake. If I don't like this system, or if I get tired looking at it, I may turn this into a fresh air intake that will go outside the shop, and then relocate the fan underneath the enclosure to the bottom of the enclosure and pull through the bottom of the enclosure and out that way. But I think this is going to work well enough, and I really want to save the room down below the enclosure for wood storage and stuff like that. This is just kind of wasted space, really. Long as I have enough room to get in, as long as the laser doesn't hit anything, we're good on that. One thing that I have added is I've got myself a main kill switch here. This kill switch cuts off everything. It cuts off the laser, the fan, the air assist, the lift, everything. And I accomplished that by basically taking and running the switch through the wire that feeds the power strip that feeds everything. So when I turn that on, that'll activate the fan, activates power for the laser, activates the lift bed and everything. The machine, I will tell you guys, if you extend one of these machines, I did find one little buggy thing that I didn't know about that I had to fix, is you have to go in and actually set the max travel distance to accommodate for the added length. If you don't, when it homes, it'll home here on the startup, and then you have to hit home again to get it to go here. So I'll have to go in more detail with the settings, but there is a settings that's in your dollar values that will change the travel distance, both your X and your Y axis, the max travel distance, and you've got to change that to make it fit the machine once you've extended it. But the bed and everything is working like it's supposed to. But I'm gonna bring you over a little closer and just kind of show you. I've kind of tricked out the inside, cleaned it up, got it to where my jig kit integrates into the lift and everything. So give you a little closer look over here. All right, so as you can see, I've got the jig kit integrated right here above the platform. If you raise the platform all the way up, it is even with the subsurface below the jig right there. And that allows me to be able to still use my jigs and so forth. I also went ahead and have trimmed this thing on the back and on the ends on both sides to where there is no gap other than the gap here in the front of the platform to the door, and there's maybe 1/4 of an inch around the honeycomb. So the cool thing is when it goes up and down, like I said, I can still use the lift bed to do all those large items, and when it goes all the way to the bottom there, you can see that's my little duct ports that I have built to pull the smoke in. And generally the work surface is going to be here, but the honeycomb's down here. The smoke's going to go out by the honeycomb surface, but the laser will only go this deep, so it's still pulling it downward. So I'm digging I'm digging my little duct because I really did not like having it pull the air out of the top of the enclosure. The bottom down here, this is just kind of, I'm using my duct also to kind of as a retention wall to make sure none of my cables or anything get out here in the way of the lift. But the lift is still working great, guys. I've got it screwed down to the enclosure with some screws, so it can't move. It's in the same spot every time when you let it up and down. And as you can see, it's right there by my little duct. So far so good, guys. I'm really digging it. I do have one more modification I'm going to do to basically use this board here as a jig for my stove covers. I'm going to notch this, and I'm going to notch the other side back here to fit my stove covers that I make, and that way I can lower the bed down to about right there, and then this will act as a jig, and the stove cover will sit in that hole, and I can do the stove covers in the enclosure without having to do them on a table like I typically do, which is going to be a lot better for smoke control and eye protection. I'm kind of liking that idea. All right, guys, I know it's going to take you all a little getting used to the backdrop back here, everything changing, but it was a necessity. I still got a little bit of a mess to clean up. Hopefully, I'll have the shack back to normal by the end of the week. I'm going to keep messing with it in the afternoons when I get home from work, and should have everything back organized the way it's supposed to be shortly. That's my hopes anyway. But I appreciate you coming. Sorry I don't got a whole lot more than this, but I know some of you have been anxiously awaiting to see how the build was coming, and it's been so hectic, and I had everything was crowded, stuff all over the floor, and I just couldn't risk crashing my expensive camera into the floor with a piece of lumber. So I just had to wait till I got to a stopping point to be able to bring you guys along. So I hope this was interesting to you. If you like the enclosure, you like the build, like I said, I will be getting more details out there shortly. But right now, I'm just kind of trying everything and engineering it as I go. But so far, so good. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. The Acer, I've been cutting out some boxes today because now that I've got added shelves, I want to be able to, put more of my stuff in little boxes. So I've been cutting out some boxes. It's doing a really great job. Instead of, only being able to do one box at a time like I could before, now I can do two. If I've got a big enough piece of material, which I haven't got it cut up yet, it's still sitting over there waiting on me, I can do 3 or 4 of them. So that's a game changer for me to be able to do multiples like that. And it increases my productivity because I don't have to, look up and realize that it's through with the burn. It'll do 3 of them, and then I have to, just listen and pay attention to it. But so far, guys, I'm enjoying the machine. I'm glad I went ahead and extended it. I know a lot of you guys have been trying to talk me into extending my machines in the past, but I just didn't have the machine that I wanted to do it with. But this guy, it couldn't have came at a better time. So anyway, if you hadn't already, guys, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and as I get more content out, you'll be able to see it. Now that I've got the lift bed in, I do have some projects that I've been wanting to do, but they were kind of odd-shaped and tall projects. And to be honest, it was a lot of hassle to have to pull one of my machines out of an enclosure and set it up on extensions to do the job. But now that I can do it at the press of a button, I can go from a 12-inch tall object to a piece of 1/8-inch material. It's easy. So there will be some videos coming using the Acer to do. I've got some glass I'm going to be doing and some other things that I'll be engraving now that I've got the ability to raise and lower the bed and just make that simpler. So until next time, guys, be safe and have a good day.